1253 has passed.
Okay, next item is resolution 1254, requesting city council approval of bond issues to refund certain outstanding bonds, electric, gas, water, and wastewater divisions.
Let me just make one comment. As Commissioner Cannell alluded to, we do have a bond refunding opportunity we think is wise for us to take advantage of. If you all pass this today, it then will require city council approval. Mark.
Commissioners, staff has identified approximately $95 million in bonds that were issued back in 2004 as potential refunding candidates based upon current market rates. And based upon those rates, as of today, it would translate to a debt service savings of $9.2 million or $7 million on a net present value basis. So those are pretty high levels, solid savings, and that would be one of the more significant ones we've had in quite a while. I do want to point out the maturities on the debt range from 2013 to 2029. Those are the maturities that would be refunded. And again, those bonds were issued back in 2004. We are required by state law to submit a refunding plan for each set of proposed refunding bonds to the comptroller for their approval. We did it this past Monday on November 14th. They have 15 calendar days to approve. So we would expect to receive, hopefully, their approval by the end of November. And upon receiving that approval, we would then get on the agenda for City Council. As Ms. Roach mentioned, at this time we plan to go to Council on December the 13th. Commissioners, this chart reflects a summary of the proposed refundings for each division, and I'll briefly go over some of the information on here. You can see that the $95 million that we identified is spread over all 4 divisions, a low of $10.7 million for water to a high of almost $40 million for the electric division. The $7 million in net present value savings, 3.2 electric, 2.3 gas, $400,000 for water, and $1.1 million for wastewater. The key threshold that the policy has is that this divided by this, does it come out to 3% or greater? And you can see in every case it does. A low of 3.83 for water to a high of 8.66 for gas. So it certainly meets those thresholds. And again, for several of those divisions, those are relatively high, which is a good thing. I'll skip to the last column. The estimated cost of issuance, in total it's $430,000. It's broken down by each respective series of bonds. What does that represent? What we would pay to our financial advisor, bond counsel, rating agencies, any other entities that would assist in the debt issuance process, plus some other miscellaneous costs. I have a chart in just a few moments that goes into detail on that $430,000. But I also wanted to mention as far as the sale date of the bonds, because there is sort of a unique situation here. For the gas, water, and wastewater bonds, we plan to sell those probably mid-January of 2012. And given our timeline, that's the earliest we could probably do it anyway, given the holidays. For electric, however, the earliest that we can sell the refunding bonds is April the 1st. And this gets into sort of the uniqueness of it. Because a portion of all of these bonds that we're refunding were actually a refunding in 2004, portions of them. United States Treasury regulations stipulate that if you have a second refunding on the same set of bonds, that you can't sell those bonds more than 90 days before the redemption date of the bonds to refund. The redemption date for gas, water, and wastewater is either March 1st or April 1st. So selling by mid-January is not a problem. You're within that 90-day window. But for electric, the redemption date on those bonds is July the 1st. So we can't sell before April the 1st. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. And as a result, depending upon what the market does over the next several months, it could impact that level of savings. Maybe it'd go up, it could go down. But wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. So basically, we would probably sell the gas, water, and wastewater bonds together in January, come back and do electric in April.
Can I ask you on that just for a second? Just for example, on the gas, on the $26 million, what is the average interest rate currently $26 million?
The average interest rate on the gas bonds is 4 point, let's see, we can sell it, 3.46.
And proposed new rate?
3.3.
3.3?
130 basis points. The basis point spread on electric's 140, gas it's 130, water it's not quite as much, it's around 80, and wastewater's 90, I believe.
Do we get dinged on our credit when we pay these off? Or?
No. No. In fact, from a rating agency perspective, lowering your debt service cost only bolsters your financial position, and all other things equal, it's a better thing in terms of your ratings. Not that you're going to get a higher rating out of it, but it's a positive.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
In the spirit of our new debt management policy, it makes this easier to understand. We sold bonds in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like we have a better interest rate now, so we're going to pay off those bonds and
Correct.
reissue them.
Correct.
A new issue at a lower cost.
That's right.
And all the issuance costs, which is this right-hand column, is the new version of all the administration involved with doing this.
Right.
So that's rolled into the savings.
Yes, that, I did not mention that. That's a good question. All the MPV savings takes that into consideration.
So it comes down to the fact that interest rates are so good right now. That
Correct.
we're going to do this, and we're going to continue to try to look at it.
Yes.
Where we.
It's very common to refinance a mortgage right now. Same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
You said 90 days, so why are we waiting until January 1 to refinance those crews?
Just the timing of it. With respect to the wastewater bonds, we couldn't do it before January 1st.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you had a 90-day window, but not.
Well, the redemption date on the wastewater bonds is April 1st. So we couldn't sell those before
okay.
January
Okay,
1st.
okay.
Now, for water and gas, the redemption date is March 1st. We could technically sell those in December, but by the time we go to city council, talk to the rating agencies again, and with the holidays, the bond market shuts down midway through December and doesn't open back up until early January. So,
All right, so
that's the earliest we could do it anyway.
Okay. But then, of course, you'll re-look and see.
Exactly.
The only other question I have is, from rate risk, are we, I mean, it's 130 basis points, but if it shrinks, are we obligated?
No.
Once we,
No.
not until we write a check, we're not obligated?
We're not obligated until we go to market. And actually, we could go to market because we'll do it through a competitive sale. If we didn't like what we saw, we could tear it up. Now, that's not advisable because your underwriters that bid would not like you very much, but you have the ability to do that.
And you still, and what part of that cost would you, of the soft cost would you incur if you didn't take it to market?
That's a good question. If we got all the way up to the point of taking it to the market, we definitely incur the rating agency portion of the cost. My guess is that bond counsel and that financial advisor would work with us. Since an actual issuance technically didn't go through, by our contracts with them, we wouldn't be obligated to pay any fees. But we'd have to work something out there. The reality of it is that. Okay. Real quickly, each set of refunding bonds, the electric division, with the authority that we're requesting is up to $41,250,000. Question you might have is, why do you need that if that's all you're refunding? Because the difference pays the underwriter's discount, that's their share of the pie, all our issuance costs. It also pays any accrued interest on refunded bonds. Because when we sell the bonds, let's say we sell April 1st, the redemption date's July 1st, there's interest that accrues over that 3-month period, that has to come somewhere. It can come from the proceeds, it could come from KUB's general fund. This reflects the proceeds right here. That's why those amounts differ. And for gas, we're requesting $26,750,000. That would refund $26.1 million in outstanding bonds, pay for the other costs, and then you can see the savings that we've already talked For water, the resolution requests up to 11 million to refund 10.7, pay the other costs. And for wastewater, request up to 18.5, refunds 18 million in outstanding bonds and pays the other costs as well. And real quickly, commissioners, on the issuance cost, this has a breakdown, and these are, for the most part, estimates at this point in time, but you can see where the $430,000 goes. To our FA, Morgan Keegan, $146,000. That's for all 4 sets of bonds. Bond counsel, $112,000. Rating agencies, $60,000 since they're rating 4 sets of bonds. Then our paying agent, $10,000, and if we had to use an escrow agent, it would be about the same. What's pretty much locked in at this point in time, and not so much an estimate, provided we actually sell the bonds, are these 2 numbers here because they're established via contract. Any questions on this? Okay. And then in closing, you're adopting the city council, what I call the city council bond resolutions as part of resolution 1254 as well. These are just some of the highlights of what's embedded in those resolutions. A total, we've already talked about it separately, but 97.5 million in total revenue refunding bond authority is being requested. The bonds would fully mature by 2029, just like the bonds that we're refunding, essentially replicating the refunding bonds maturity schedule. And these bonds are also callable by 2022 if we so choose to exercise that option. And lastly, it's important to note that there's a provision in each of those resolutions that the city acknowledges KUB's new debt management policy and realizes that KUB's debt issuance activities come under that policy. We felt it's important to include that. And that's all I have.
Other questions?
I was just very curious. So, let's say a bond, let's say water. How much of the principal have you paid off on some of these bonds?
On which bonds?
Just pick any for an example.
We will make, in a typical year, and it just depends, but we will pay down principal of approximately $10 million a year.
Okay.
It just depends. As we get further along in wastewater, there's some more hefty principal amounts that are going to start coming due, so that amount will increase over time. But every year we're paying $8 to $10 to $12 million in principal payments.
I guess what I
on
was,
debt.
I mean, you showed like 26, 27, and we originally had taken, what, 26, we were gonna ask for like 26.7
Right.
million. And the original thing was 26, but was that after it had been paid down some?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those bonds were issued in 2004. We've been making principal payments on those
Okay.
over the years, but typically every bond issue has a call provision that's about 10 years out.
Okay.
So those first 10 maturities aren't callable.
Okay.
You have to wait, and you can do what's called an advance refunding and refund earlier, but we can't do that anymore on these bonds because we already used that one up on
Yeah.
those 2004 ones.
Okay.
Just 2 more quick, I promise.
Yes.
It looks like you're gonna issue then about $100 million in debt
Close to it, yes, sir.
and pay off about $98 million in debt or something in that.
95.
So the $5 million is, that's all loading and prepays and all that?
The 97.5, that is correct. Is what, if we issued that amount, it would refund 94.6 million. The remaining so-called $3 million would pay our issuance costs, cover any accrued interest on the bonds, pay the underwriter's fee or discount as well.
And your net savings is net of that?
That is correct.
And then the only other thing on the call provision that you had in it, it looked like it went from something shorter to something longer. I mean, if we're calling, if you're paying, or maybe I'm confused, probably, but we went from 2004 bonds, we're paying off in 2012.
That's right. And now these will
These
now
bonds
be
would not be able to-
2012 bonds, and they wouldn't be callable until 2022.
Which is a longer, is that not, I may be missing something. I mean,
It
we're
is a
10
little bit
years,
of a longer period.
So we're fixing the rate, the minimum, the rate that we're gonna pay for a little bit longer than what we have had this other fixed at.
That's correct. The bonds that were issued in 2004 were callable by 2012. These that will issue in 2012 would be callable by 2022. It's a little bit longer of a call period. You're correct. But we have the authority to adjust that.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for resolution 1254. Is there any public comment? Any other comments from commissioners? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Colby.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Cannell.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Resolution 1254 is passed.
Okay, we've reached the other business portion of our meeting, and is there any public comment, any other questions? The gentleman left that wanted to address us, okay. Any commissioners have any other business? If not, I'm going to call an executive session at this point to discuss the Tennessee Regulatory Authority recent notice of violation. I want to do this with the board staff and general counsel. So we will convene across the hall in a closed executive session, and immediate following we'll open up to have the rest of our open board meeting. So anybody will be invited to return at that point. So I'm going to ask Mr. Coley to, I guess, convene us in session across the hall to discuss this TRA notice of violation.